Hello, everyone, and welcome to AFCLC's Language Division's LEAP Live event. My name is Michaela McCurry, and I work with the Outreach Division here at the Air Force Culture and Language Center. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest, Colonel Brett Seiling from the SAFI A team. Colonel Seiling is the Chief of International Airmen and Guardians Division for the Secretary of the Air Force International Affairs. Today, he'll be chatting with us and providing in-depth insight on the Foreign Area Officer career field. Before we get started, we just want to go over a few rules of engagement. So please maintain principles and standards of professional behavior and communication. Please mute your mics while others are speaking during this presentation. Please follow proper OPSEC procedures and guidance and remain cognizant that Facebook is an unclassified medium. Failure to abide by these rules will cause you to be removed from the brief and possible removal from the LEAP private Facebook group. We also ask that you please hold all questions until the end of the brief and use your chat feature within the chat here on Zoom or within the chat on Facebook to drop your questions, and we will relay them to Colonel Seiling during our Q&A event concluding this presentation. With these rules in mind, the floor is yours, Colonel Seiling.
All right, thanks for the introduction, and thanks for having me here today to talk about the Foreign Area Officer career field. So I'm the career field manager for the FAOs, but also in our division, we have a couple different things in our portfolio. We oversee all the attaché and security cooperation officer manning and assignments. We also manage the military personnel exchange program, have over 300 MPEPs out there on exchanges with other air forces. And then the FAO is a big part of our portfolio as well. So with that, next slide, please. All right. So a lot of it, I'm going to start off with just some anecdotes, just to kind of set the stage of kind of things that you may find yourself doing as a foreign area officer, because I really didn't know when I started my career. I started off as Intel, been FAO since 2002 when I graduated from Naval Postgrad and then Defense Language Institute. I had no idea where this journey was going to take me. And so I just want to start off. You can see kind of some the highlights of positions that I've had, but I'm just going to kind of go around the horn with the pictures. With the top left, that's me meeting King Abdullah in Jordan. I was the air attaché in Jordan from 2010 to 2014. Once a year, we had a group of generals that would come through, and you can see over my shoulder is General Hoare, who is a retired CENTCOM commander who was good friends with the king. And so anytime General Hoare would come with his delegation, we had the opportunity to meet with King Abdullah. We'd have be a group about 20. He would host us, he would have lunch, and then he would give remarks, and then he would just open up for questions, which is just absolutely an amazing opportunity to talk to a head of state and just ask him what state of affairs and what's going on. You can see in the bottom left that picture with the helicopter. That was in 2006. I was supposed to go to Syria, and then Israel and Hezbollah got into their little fight, and so I did not get into Syria, but I did get was able to help out the defense attaché office there in Beirut. So I actually had to fly into Cyprus, and then they heloed us into the actual embassy compound because the main runway of the airport was bombed out, and that was one of the things that I was there to help monitor when they were doing the repairs, to make sure I could report on how they were doing that and make sure everything was safe. So that was a pretty unique opportunity to be able to work in Lebanon. And then that the bottom picture, you can see that was me in 2003. I actually was in the KAOC at LUD during the air war, working in the Special Ops Liaison element, the SOL, because I was part of AFSOC at the time. I was just happened to be, I think, the right place, right time. I happened to be at a gathering at night, and somebody said, "Hey, you speak Arabic?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to speak that. I just graduated from DLI. Like, I had just graduated from DLI." And they said, "Well, they're putting together this bomb damage assessment team. They don't have any linguists, and so they're putting together. So next thing I know, I was packing my bags up and going down to Australia, and then into May, June, and July, we were in Iraq doing the largest bomb damage assessment that had been done since World War II. And so kind of my role with the team is while they were doing the assessment, I would just kind of talk to folks, let them know what was going on, make sure, you know, we weren't there to police anybody up, because this is starting when things were pretty good, but they were kind of starting to slide a little bit sideways. You know, a lot of looting going on, and just let them know, hey, we're here, we're going to be here for an hour or two, and then we'll be out of here. Let them go on and do what they were going to do. The bottom right picture is, so now when you become a FAO, and I think we'll talk about it, one of the things that you do your 6 months in region training. And when I was going through the pipeline, we didn't have a formal IRT process. You just kind of had to put together opportunities together on your own. So that was me in 2004, and actually it was my wife is actually the one taking the picture. We put together a trip, did a week in Jordan and then a week in Syria, and then I went back and did some language study at the University of Jordan afterwards. And these are just some guys that were some shopkeepers in the Souk Hamdiya that we met right outside the Umayyad Mosque, and just it was just a great FAO opportunity. We just made it a habit. At the end of the day, we'd kind of go and hang out. And you see on that empty chair, there was just tea. And me and my wife would just go and hang out and talk to these guys about politics and things going on in Syria. And it was just a really pretty cool opportunity. And then the top right is a picture with me with Major General Mansour Al-Jabor. He was at the time, he was the commander of the Royal Jordanian Air Force. And just throughout my tour, I built a really strong relationship. I mean, both with the Jordanians officially and actually as a family too. General Mansour had gone to Air War College in the States. He had been their air attaché in the States, and his son Kais is actually a 2008 Air Force Academy grad. So over our tour, we became really close, working relationship, and then just family as well. We even went back for Kais's wedding, even after we left Jordan, and we just saw him actually in February in Dubai. And so you really can build some really strong, lasting relationships through these tours. And so I just go, like I said, just go over this, just kind of set the stage and just kind of go over some, you know, unique opportunities I've had throughout my FAO career. Next slide. So this one, the FAO we need. And so that first one, when we say advocate for airspace and cyber operations, that's one of the big reasons why you cannot direct commission into become a FAO. You have to wait to that 7 to 10 year point, because we really want you to be well grounded in the Air Force and your specialty, which you are commissioned in, before you become a FAO. Because you will be, like I said, building and sustaining strategic relationships. You will be shaping Paul Mill engagements, and people may not really appreciate it. And like I said, I didn't know until I got out there. And so the story I tell about this one is when you're an attaché, when you have high-level visitors come, you run the entire visit. You put it together, schedule itinerary, motorcades, rooms, control rooms, all the security stuff. And I just really didn't appreciate what a heavy lift that was. And so my last visit that we had right before I left Jordan, the SecDef was coming through. And so we always went and talked to our Jordanian counterparts when we had high-level visitors, just to kind of get an idea of what they potentially were going to bring up. And so in this case, I went and had a meeting with the Jordanian Chief of Defense, sat down and said, Secretary of Defense is coming. What do you think your talking points are going to be? And he, no kidding, pulls out a 3x5 card and he goes, what are my talking points? And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So here I am, Lieutenant Colonel, talking to their Chief of Defense and hashing out what his talking points are going to be with our Secretary of Defense. And so immediately, obviously, I go back to the embassy, calling OSD and letting them know, like, okay, just talk to Chad, and this is stand by, and this is what he's going to bring up during the visit. And of course, at the end of the day, most important thing is we're looking at opportunities to advance U.S. national security objectives. That is 100% what we're for. We're working with our partners and working to find that seams where their national security objectives align with ours, but at the end of the day, we're pushing our national security objectives, not theirs. But we want to work with them, but we're not working for them. Next slide. All right, so there's a lot going on here. I'm not going to read this whole slide. You guys will have the slides afterwards, but I'll kind of hit the key points. So now we are our own career field, and we are our own development category. Everybody's probably familiar with your own DevCat. We are line of the Air Force X for crossflow. We are the only other person that's in our development category is our one and only astronaut we have in the Air Force. So it's just FAOs and one astronaut competing against each other for promotion opportunities. And you can see for the certification of what it takes to be a FAO, that's a DoD certification guidelines that you have to have an advanced academic degree in international relations with some sort of regional focus. You're going to have to score on the DLPT 221 plus, and then you will get 6 months, and we will send you, if you're selected for FAO, 6 months in region. Part of that will be in an embassy, getting see how a country team works, and then part of that is also going to be doing more language training. So we have over 400 billets, 372 are certified as core FAOs. And then we're looking to have, at this time, we're looking to have an inventory of 615 when we're all said and done. And to kind of talk about the selection process, yes, for the 16 Foxtrots, for the non-rated, 7 to 10 years commissioned service. And then for our 16 Zulus, our rated FAOs, we really want you to be second gate complete. And that's just so you've got that second gate, your pay's squared away, and because we don't have any guarantees that you're going to be able to fly once you become a FAO. There are some C-12 opportunities, but there's nothing guaranteed that you will get back in the cockpit. That's why we really want you to be that second gate complete. Vast majority of our people are going to go through Naval Postgraduate School and Defense Language Institute, become a FAO. Now, a new thing is if you go do overseas developmental education for IDE, once you complete that, you become a FAO. You will not be in your core career field anymore. So you do foreign IDE, that's another way to become a FAO. And then there is a direct cross-flow opportunity. If you have the degree, you have the in-region training, you have the language. Those are going to be rare cases. It does happen, but we're going to take most of our folks through the traditional session of NPS and DLI. And it says, well, this says it's a shared career path. Yeah, it's on a shared career path. No, we are a single track. We need to actually change that. But your assignments, you will be managed by SAFIA, by our guys for the remainder of your FAO tour. And then there is the potential, maybe down the road, after 2 tours, you could go back to your origin career field for a tour. But that's only if and when it aligns and it's something international airman or guardian related. It's not just going to be do some random job back in your career field. It's going to have some FAO flavor to it. And then you can see the types of positions. So about half are country team, whether that means attaché or security cooperation, and about the other half are some sort of staff, and whether that's air staff or joint staff. So that's what our billets look like. All right, next slide, please. This is the breakdown by the different regions of the core of the billets. You can see the number of billets, what our target inventory is, and then how many we had certified, and then how many we have in the pipeline for each of those. And the reason why we have more target inventory than we actually have billets, and that's if we do have these FAO-enabled tours or people going out and doing command or going to school or doing things that we're not short-gapped, because a lot of our positions we do man 100%, especially the ones in the embassies. And then on the right, you can see our secondary AFSCs. So we do have some legacy people that did not recore. They were certified FAOs. They chose not to become core FAOs for whatever reason, and so they still hold that secondary AFSC. All right, next slide, please. And for the attaché, so I'll just kind of go over briefly about what our attaché program looks like. So you can see we have 262 attaché Air Force positions. The big thing as an air attaché, you are the chief of staff of the Air Force's representative to that country. So that's one of the biggest things. You're there to observe and report. It's openly acknowledged of what every attaché is there in that country, just kind of keep a pulse of what's going on in the country's military. But you're also there to advise the ambassador on all things air related, whether it's what U.S. Air Force is doing in that country and also what that host nation's Air Force is doing. One thing about attachés, if you get into the attaché program, you do have to pass a counterintelligence polygraph. Pretty straightforward. It's nothing to get hung up about as long as you're not selling secrets to Russians or Chinese, and you'll be good to go. It's not a full scope lifestyle poly like other agencies you have to take. And then on the right side, you can see the breakdown of the number of where our positions are, the number of embassies, and how it's broken down between the 31 senior defense officials, defense attachés, which runs the entire MIL team, versus just the air attachés or assistant attachés. And then we do kind of lifeblood of the DAO is the ops NCOs, and especially the OPSCO, our NCOs, just keep the trains running. Could not do it without those guys. And they also all go through, there's parallel programs. The Joint Military Attaché School, it's about a 4-month program. All attachés will go through that. And then there's also a ops support course that the NCOs go through. All right, next slide, please. So the other half of the MIL team in an embassy is your Security Cooperation Office. Sometimes called ODC or MAP. It depends on different embassies call it different things. The biggest thing is the security cooperation is that people are most familiar with is foreign military sales. We're selling widgets to whatever country, and that is managed through the Security Cooperation Office. But it's also doing training, exercises. There's all kinds of things. So it's not just selling things. It's also just building partner capacity. Because we want our partners to be able to work, with us and be interoperable. But sometimes we're not going to be there, and we want them to be able to operate on their own, especially if it's helping further U.S. National interests. Next slide, please. So we do have some opportunities to command, and this is one big thing I just want to address here. So we only have 13 05 FAO commands. So most people are not going to command as a FAO, and that's fine, because the things that we value as a career field is being on a country team, working in an embassy, working on a FAO staff, and then doing a FAO leadership. That could be running the attaché office, chief attaché ops, could be running the security cooperation office, could be a branch chief working on staff somewhere. So those are the kind of leaderships most people are not going to command, and that's fine, because it's FAOs competing against FAOs for promotion. So everybody's on even ground as far as that is concerned. But we do have, and you can see where these training command opportunities are. Next slide. And then this is just to give you an idea of just the kind of different staff assignments and what's possible that you may find, what's kind of staff you may find yourself at. All right, next slide, please. So every career field's got the ribbon chart, and this is ours. And again, you guys will have the slides, and so you can digest it on your own. But I think kind of one more interesting things you can kind of see at the top are percentage breakdowns of our billets. And you see 41% of the billets are 04s, my eyes are failing me, was it 36 or 05s and then 23 or 06s. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the shred out of throughout your rest of your career as a FAO, how many billets we have or percentages of, because everybody's going to be coming in either with a line number to major or already a major, because we don't have the last, our development category does not have a major promotion board from captain to major. Next slide, please. So I did see in the chat somebody was asking about who's eligible to apply. So it's not like we have a board and then we take our top 50 athletes necessarily. So A1D tells us every year how many FAOs we can assess into our program. So they'll give us the total number. Then within that, they'll tell us, it's broken down by career field. They'll tell us how many we are allowed to take from each career field. So when we have our board, we have our 1 to N list, and say we have, we hit our 13 Bravo, and then we have the next guy, the number 2 guy on the list is a 13 Bravo, then we can't take them. We're already capped out. We're only allowed to have 1. We have to move down the list. So that's how it's selected. So it's not, we don't drive those numbers. That comes from A1 on the total number, and then the breakout from each career field. And sometimes for a year we're not allowed to take any from a career field. And so that's what we'll get like, how come I didn't get selected? I'm the greatest thing in the world and I speak 5 languages, and like, well, you're a 21 mic and we can't take any this year. And so that's our constraint. Right. So somebody asked if 0, right? If it says 0, that means we cannot take any from that career field that year. And I think the next slide, maybe showed 2021's numbers. Yeah. Just you can see the numbers will change. It depends on the health of that career field. They have their calculator. They spit out the number. They let us know, and then at our DTs when we sit down and score records, and then we, like I said, go down the list, see who we can bring in. No, you will not. I see somebody asking, we're going to know the limits before the application window opens. No, we don't. We'll only get that sometimes at the last minute because it's a moving target. So apply. If you're interested, apply, and then don't get wrapped around the axle on the numbers, or do I need to change career fields to have a better shot? Next slide, please. So I kind of alluded to overseas developmental education. Like I said, that's one of the things that our IAS branch runs. You go to, like I said, IDE overseas, you will become a FAO. We do have SDE overseas opportunities, but that pool is we are going to select already assessed FAOs. So we're going to run that process from now on. So it's going to be FAOs applying to go to those overseas SDE opportunities. All right, next slide, please. Like I said, this is another branch that we have within our division, the Military Personnel Exchange Program. So this may, if you're not, don't want to become a FAO and you don't want to leave your career field forever, you just want to kind of, I won't say dabble in it, but go do a tour and then go back. MPEP is a great opportunity. Do a 3-year assignment. You can see we have 3 different squadron commanders, one that covers down on Europe, Middle East, and Africa, one does Asia Pacific, and one does Americas. 394 reciprocal and non-reciprocal exchanges. So sometimes it's not a 1-for-1 swap. Sometimes we have folks that just come here and we don't send anybody there. But the key thing here is 41 different AFSCs. People think, oh, it's just pilots or NAVs. It's a wide swath of different career fields that we have. And these are on Talent Marketplace and advertised, and that's how you can volunteer for these opportunities. So like I said, 40 different partner nations. And you can see Space Force, they want to have like 100 MPEPs. So that's one thing. So we don't have, Space Force does not have a FAO program yet. They're trying to work out what they kind of want to do. But right now, SAFI runs International Airman and Guardian program for Department of Air Force. So it's not just Air Force, it's also Space Force. And that's why the MPEP we cover down on Space Force and PEPs as well. Next slide, please. So things to consider. So a lot of these things, oh man, this is really cool, like I'm all in. Well, these are the kind of things we just want you to really think about hard before you volunteer and become a FAO. Really think long and hard about medical and family support. My son was the FMP. We're able to still go overseas and do assignments, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you're going to have some serious EFMP things, you can't, apply and say, I want to be a FAO, and then we give you your shred out, and then you're like, oh, can't go there, and I can't go here. I can only go to Paris. And when you apply FAO, it's all in. It's worldwide volunteer. You will apply to become a FAO. We will assess you a FAO, and then we will determine your regional shred out. We try to pair it obviously on your background and language, especially for you guys Leapsters, of what you bring to the fight already, but there's absolutely no guarantees. If you have joint spouse considerations, think about that. If you're going to embassy assignments, there may be limited or no opportunities for joint spouse, and half of our positions are in embassies, so that's something to think about. Also, obviously, cultural considerations. I hate to say it, but I've had people come in and they bring them into Middle East FAO, and then they say, I can't be assigned to a Muslim country. Okay, that's not the way it works. So you got to think about that. Like I said, you're going to be a worldwide volunteer. Citizenship of immediate family members seems counterintuitive. People think, oh, I've got tons of family in Japan. That'd be perfect to be the air attaché in Japan. You can't, on the attaché side, you cannot have immediate family on either you or your spouse's side in that country. Security cooperation, sometimes that's different, but in the attaché, that's absolutely a no-go. So people are surprised about that. But that is a constraint from DIA. And think about where you are in your origin AFSC. I had folks that are clearly, especially when we had BZ, they were on command track, they were high flyers in their career field, and they're considering FAO. What I tell folks is, because this is competitively selected, you're joining the Olympic team. You're joining people with super strong records, or they wouldn't become FAOs. And so just think about that. So are you a big fish in a small pond, or do you really want this and you want to compete and go do the mission? And just think about that, where you are in your career, and what's important to you. Whether you really want to be a squadron commander, and I said there's only 13 opportunities as a FAO. Well, this may not be the career choice for you then. And I talked about regional preferences are not guaranteed. Talk about second gate complete for rated folks, and non-rated outside the window. That's a case-by-case basis. And the reason is we're already bringing you in 7 to 10 years, and we want, to be honest, we want to get some return on investment. If we're going to send you to school for 2.5, 3 years, we're going to make sure that we get a couple tours out of you. Next slide, please. You guys, I'm not going to go through all the different ways to apply, but because again, you guys will have these slides. But there's the different ways: FAO, Overseas Developmental Education. There's a PAS program. Didn't talk about that. We didn't have a slide, but there is a way to become a political affairs specialist. If you get selected to go to ACSC in residence, you take 3 electives during your ACSC, and then you will owe a staff tour. You're not going to get language, you're not going to get in-region training, but you will go do a staff tour that's something that's International Airman Guardian related on staff, which is a good way. Again, if you just kind of want to dip your toe into it, not all into the FAO thing, PAS is an excellent way to go. And then, of course, attaché and SCO, pretty much the 05 and below, 100% of those billets are going to be filled with certified FAOs. 06, we don't have the bench right now for 06s, so there are opportunities for those that are not FAO, core FAOs, to go do attaché, SCO positions in 06, but right now, 05 and below, it's all FAOs. and then already talked about MPEP. And you can see apply through my vector. Okay, next slide, please. This is how you can stay connected to us. Please use the IAS workflow box is the best way. If you have questions, especially after this, hopefully we're gonna have, it looks like we've got a good amount of time for questions this way. I really didn't want to go just heavy on the slides. We want to make sure we had opportunity to answer questions. There's something that we don't address, that's email. We do have a meal suite page. I highly encourage you to go in there and click around and see. There's a lot of different things. People ask questions, and we'll be like, it's on the meal suite page. It's on the meal suite page. So check that out first before if you think there's something we didn't answer. Sapphire does have an official LinkedIn page. So if you are interested in international affairs things in the Air Force, I recommend connecting through LinkedIn. And then we do have obviously a number of webinars just like this one all throughout the year. We usually have one for people, again, considering applying for FAO. We'll address issues. We do outreach with SOS. We do webinars with our O6s. So it was a bunch of different outreach that we do throughout the year. Next slide. Or was that it? That may be. All right, and here's the program contacts for folks in our division. Okay, next slide. All right. So seeing the chat, I haven't been able to keep up with the scrolling in the chat thing, so I'm open to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for this presentation. It looks like your team has been really grabbing those questions in the chat and answering those. We do have a few on Facebook, so I'll read those out to you. So our first question on Facebook is for a LEAP scholar. This particular one is 3 years commission, but 17 years prior former SNCO. Would your experience be recognized as experience for the FAO application, or would you still have to wait the 7 to 10 year commission time to become a FAO?
So we don't have any field grade or company grade billets. That's the biggest thing. All our billets are major and above. So that's one of the big reasons why the 7 to 10 year point comes into play.
Thank you, sir. And then another question we have on Facebook is what career inclinations should I focus on as a young officer to increase my chances of being selected as a FAO later on?
So biggest thing I tell folks is bloom where you're planning. It is your number one consideration is the strength of your record. So you've got to have a strong record. Then it's secondary things. We did have a lot of Leapsters got assessed into the program in our last DT. But we're not even going to start looking at that if you don't have good job performance. How well have you performed versus your peers throughout your career? That's just the biggest thing. I can't stress enough.
All right. Another question we have from Facebook is what are the requirements to apply for the direct cross flow program, and how and where is the application accomplished?
So that is the one that you would have to have all the qualifications already. You would have to have an international relations degree, master's degree, have in region time, and then already be the 2-2 level for our language. I don't know if somebody on the team is in there. I'm not sure where they apply for the direct cross flow, but it's at the same time when we have a regular FAO board. But those numbers do count against our overall number. So if A1 tells us we can only bring in 50, if we bring in somebody direct cross flow, that's going to count against our cap. And probably they're going to have a lot more years in than the 7 to 10 year that we're looking at.
I'll jump in. So the crossflow takes place annually. Prior to our becoming a core career field, you could apply for direct crossflow throughout the year. Now that'll happen at the same time as the initial application process. So look for that timing around December. Bob Cronin can correct me if that timeline's incorrect. If you don't receive an email from Talent Marketplace, you can contact AFPC, which is Bob Cronin is on the line, and Katie Helfrich directly, and they'll make sure that your application is considered. Bob or Lieutenant Colonel Stokes, anything more on direct crossflow?
No, Joe, it's about you had it correct. We do the direct crossflow at the same time as the traditional development during the DT board, and the PSDM released in December will give officers contact information on how to contact us to apply if they're not directly contacted.
All right, thank y'all for that. We have another question in the chat here. For those with immediate family members in the country, one second. Lost the question there. And back up. I believe it was, okay, here we go. For those with immediate family members in the country they intend to serve in, would you recommend they change their target language?
So we don't have country FAOs, we have regional FAOs. So can't be target fixated that I've studied Japanese and I'm going to Japan. You're going to be an Indo-Pacific FAO. May have target language that will send you to, or maybe you come to the program with a target language. But if you're going to go to do a different assignment, we'll send you to language school again to pick up that language of where you're going to serve.
All right, another question we have here. How hard line is the 120 gate month requirement for rated?
We will look at it on a case-by-case basis, but we really would like you to be second gate complete, but you can, we will entertain folks that are interested but they're going to have to go in eyes wide open, knowing that there may not be an opportunity to get you back to the cockpit to get your second gate complete.
Well, sir, I would add that may also require some coordination with the A3 community, because part of what our deal is with them is that for them to get a full return on investment for all the time they put into training these officers, they really would like to see that 120 gate months complete.
Yep. Keep me honest on that one every time I forget. Yep, absolutely. You owe them a commitment for the training they put in you to get to become rated.
All right. This is another question in relation to direct crossflow. Do your language, regional expertise, and regional focus in your masters have to be from the same country or region?
So they're asking if your masters,
if your language and your regional experience and regional focus that you have your masters in, does that have to be from the same country and region?
Right. It should all align in the region. It wouldn't be effective FAO if you have a master's degree in the Pacific and you speak Arabic. It should be the same region.
All right, we got a few more questions here. The next question we have, and I think you touched on this a little bit. Well, this one is, do all FAOs receive a TS clearance, or is that just attachés?
For attachés, for sure, you're going to need a TS SCI, 100%, and a CI poly. The other, I don't know off the top. I don't know the security clearance requirements for the other.
So it would be based on the position they're going to. So if they're going to a SCO or attaché, they'll get top secret. But if they're going to a staff position and top secret's not required, we're not going to do the top secret. So it all depends on their next position.
Well, sir, the way we've read the instruction and the way we've worded it is they need to maintain a TSSCI eligibility. They may not receive an actual clearance, but they should have the TSSCI eligibility.
Right. No. Okay.
I caught a question that goes along with that, sir. You could elaborate on from Brett Hagan in the chat. Do all FAOs have to be attaché SCOs, or is that a separate application process more down the road?
You apply to become a FAO, and then there's the different assignments. I was talking about the attaché, security cooperation, staff tours. So you will go, I won't say the round robin, but the goal is that you've had at least one, preferably two country team and assignments in a staff position rolling into your 06 promotion board, because really the goal of what we want is a well-rounded attaché that can become a senior defense official in a large MIL team and has been there, done that, is comfortable, and has got the background. So.
But the application process is separate to become an attaché.
Right, yeah. So 100% our 05 and below attachés are going to be already FAOs. So you got to be a FAO first before you're going to be in the mix to become an attaché. And that's where Lieutenant Colonel Stokes folks, they will put out the list of what's coming available, and then people can see what opportunities are out there. But you got to be a FAO first.
So if I can just add on, sir, typically every March and August, you'll see a list go out to the FAO community from the SCO and Attaché branch for the next VML cycle. So, you'd see it with enough time to be able to put in and apply for positions coming open on the next assignment cycle if you're going to be needing to move during that cycle. But we're not going to select anyone for SCO or attaché way in advance. Typically it is going to be pretty much as you're approaching the time for you to move. So that's kind of how the process works. Over.
All right, got a couple more questions here. The next question is, if selected for a language we already have baseline level of experience in, is there an opportunity to take a 6-month language school training to increase the skill level beyond their current 222 level?
Tim, I don't know, what have we done in the past with that?
So for those individuals that get selected and they already have a level of proficiency that puts them just below what is needed to become a FAO, we're likely going to put them through some form of non-DLI training that we will contract and use our funding to get you up to the level needed to pass FAO certification. If you're already at FAO certification level, as far as proficiency, we probably are not going to throw some additional funds into taking you to a 3 or higher. If there's another language we want you to learn for the region, that is a possibility. For example, in the Southcom AOR, if somebody speaks Spanish, we may still send them to learn Portuguese and vice versa. So that would be an example of where we might still send someone to language training in those instances. But that's kind of what we're looking at and how we work it for those that already have some level of proficiency. Over.
Yeah, and it's also, we want to get you out there. If you've already got the qualifications, you've got the language. I mean, we want you to get out there and start working, doing the FAO stuff. And sometimes you see people, they just want to be professional students, and we need to get you out there.
All right. Another question that we have is, what constitutes experience? For example, does time spent living and working in a region prior to entering the Air Force count as experience?
It's not going to, well, I don't think we're going to count. It's all situation dependent. But I mean, by and large, we're going to send people out for their 6 months in region training, especially maybe somebody grew up in a region or has a lot of experience. Either way, we're still going to send you out to go work in an embassy and get that part of the in-region training, because very few people are going to come to us and work in an embassy and have got MIL team experience or country team experience. Tim, anything else on that one?
We're talking about in-region experience. Is that correct?
Right. I guess they're asking like what constitutes in-region experience if they had lived in the region prior to joining the military.
So for the language and culture portion of what we'd expect for an in-region training experience may be satisfied by someone having lived there, but we're going to have to be convinced that that individual is working with local nationals speaking the language on like an almost daily basis. As far as strategic engagement, which is what Colonel Seiling was mentioning in terms of going and working with the embassies, that is much harder to prove that you've got a good amount of experience in. So you're going to get at the very least 60 days of strategic engagement on an in-region training tour in most all cases. So we like to do 90 for those that haven't had that, but if you can convince us, we're still probably going to send you for at least 60 days because most of the time the experience you've had just doesn't hit the mark for what we're looking for. Over.
Right. I mean, we've had, naturalized citizens and people who grew up in certain areas of the world. They're still going to go to an embassy and get that experience. For at least for part of it. You may not get the full 6 months, but we're going to get you out there, get that strategic engagement.
All right. Another question that we have is, if you are on track to PCS at your 8-year mark, would that mean that you can apply at year 7, then again at year 9 and 10 for the 7 to 10 year time frame for the application?
Oh, Bob, I see you're online. I'm not going to do. I'm apologizing.
Sorry, yeah, I was just about to type an answer to that one. Okay, if you're on track to PCS at the 8-year mark, you really need to apply at the 7-year mark prior to that PCS, because if you PCS, you'll have to do at least 24 months and it'll bring you to 10. And then when you're applying, you may be over the 10-year limit and have to apply for a waiver to compete. So if you're really interested in FAO and you're due to PCS at the 8-year mark, please apply prior to and compete around the 7-year mark. Out.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. So another question we have is, once you're assigned to a region, is there a process or opportunity to request a different region, such as going from Southcom to UCOM? Or is there an expectation that you'll work in that same region during the entirety of your FAO career?
So the expectation is you will stay within your region and become a regional, I would say expert. We just talked about that in our last FAO orientation course. A specialist will say within that region, because like I said, when we want you to have a depth of experience, become a colonel, senior defense official, and not bounce around from region to region, really want you to have in-depth experience. Does it mean it never happens? No. When it makes sense. If you're a Southcom FAO and there's an opportunity in Spain, sure, if it makes sense and we have a gap, and but our expectation is you will stay within your region throughout your career. Over.
All right, I think that. We did have a couple of questions that were submitted by a few people prior to the event, so I'll get you some of those. So one of the questions are there certain languages that are currently in the highest demand for FAOs?
Hi. I don't know, Tim. I don't know. The billets. So it's not. So one thing to understand is that we are the force provider. We're not the billet owners, and so the different commands or DIA, they come to us and they say this is what they need. This is what the requirements are, and so that's when we're bringing in FAOs and figuring out who goes where. It's to fill those requirements, if that makes sense. And so it's not like everybody's saying, oh, China's the hottest thing right now, so we're just going to assess people to come into Pacific and speak Chinese. That's not the way it works. If PACAF or PACOM come with a bunch of new billets and saying, hey, we need these filled, then we'll surge to fill those. So answer to the requirements of the billet owners.
All right. And another question is, does time spent with LEAP count towards your IRT pipeline requirements should you be selected as a FAO?
If they were talking about if they had some in-region training, again, it might may take off some time of the language and cultural time. But I can tell you, being a LEAP scholar, we had a lot of Leapsters picked up in the last go around, and a lot of that is just because you're interested in international relations, you've taken time to study language, you've probably traveled around, and so that kind of puts you a leg up. Again, you got to have a strong record against your peers, but definitely does help you being a Leapster.
All right, I think that is all the questions we currently have on Facebook. Do we have any other LEAP scholars or members who want to ask questions in the chat? Let's see, we have one more that came in. If selected to a different COCOM than your language background, is there an opportunity to still be used as a specialist in that other AOR?
So if you have a language score somewhere. No, I mean, we want you to specialize in the region we give you, but you can, I don't know, Tim, if you want to talk about the flip pay and how that works with second languages.
So as far as receiving the foreign language proficiency bonus, it's going to be based on your region. So if you speak a language outside of that region, especially with the new guidance that'll be releasing probably within the next year, you'll probably not receive pay for that, and you will not be considered, except in a very exceptional case, to serve an assignment where that language is, if it's outside of your region of assignment. So
that's a good point. So if you come to us as a Spanish linguist and we assign you to become a Middle East FAO, if you let your Arabic lapse and you don't qualify for flip, we're not going to be able to pay you for your Spanish. You need to keep your target language that you're assigned as a FAO current before you start getting pays for other ones.
I saw a question that wasn't addressed yet in the chat from Emmanuel Parushev. It looks like there are some special opportunities for special assignments like teaching at the academy. Does that mean there are also opportunities to pursue a PhD in IA Area Studies language as a FAO through the AAD?
So that's a good question. So right now we are not at our target inventory of where we need to be for FAOs as a career field. So we are not entertaining people to go get a PhD right now. It's just we're not getting, again, return on investment. Just think how much time we're putting 2.5, 3 years to get your master's degree, get your language, and then turn around and tack a PhD on top of that. We're just never going to get you out in the field and doing FAO things. So right now, we're not entertaining PhDs. Opportunities like SAS and things like that, we are letting people apply for SAS though.
All right, we have another question from says, I am a prior enlisted. By the time I hit promotion for major, I will be around 15 years time in service. Will I still be eligible to apply?
Prior enlisted, time I hit promotion major at 15. It would be, I mean, you can apply and we'll look at it. But again, it's just being able to get, if you got 15 years, you potentially are only going to get one assignment versus when we can bring in somebody, a junior major, and we're going to get multiple assignments. Because like I said, the A1 tells us how many total that we can assess every year. So each person we bring in counts against that number. It doesn't matter whether they're traditional pipeline or if they're direct cross flow. So it happens, but would have to be a really strong candidate and somewhere where we need that expertise and they're ready to hit the ground running.
Sir, I think the question is driving towards total federal time and service versus commission time and service.
So I'm trying to see how promotion major at 15, right? Well, still, if they're at 15, they retire at 20.
So I think the 7 to 10 year application period is for commission time and service, that your enlisted time would not count.
Right. Again, because we still have the billets. We need you to be a major, at least a major.
So we have another question from Facebook. Do you need to be a FAO before applying to be part of the Joint United States Military Advisory Group?
I'm not, Bob, I'm not.
He's talking about just MAG, sir, which is SCO, I believe. So yes, you'd need to be a FAO before you could apply for that program.
Well, not all the SCO positions are FAO, though. There are certain, that's what I was asking Bob. I don't know if you knew specifically there, because there are in some of the security cooperation offices, there are billets that are not FAO billets.
True.
But that's MAG, I'm not sure.
I think just MAG is all FAO, sir. We don't have any core billets there, so they have to be FAOs for that.
For that one, okay.
All right. Okay, we have another question here. Where can we look at available SCO positions?
Bob, I'll let you handle that one.
Available SCO positions? There, we fill SCO positions, the ones that are available to core assignments, not FAO. There's about 42 of them left. Well, those are filled through the core assignments through Talent Marketplace. So if you're interested in filling a SCO position in your core, then you would look at Talent Marketplace for it. All the other ones are FAO and are sent out via the application process once you're a FAO through the Attaché SCO branch. If you have a specific AFSC and you're looking for a SCO position, reach out to me via email and I'll get you let you know if your core has any and where they're at specifically.
All right. I think we're good on questions on Facebook. Do we have just a couple of minutes left before the top of the hour. Do we have any final questions in our Zoom group here? Okay. If not, all right. Well, we will go ahead and conclude this live event for today. And we want to let you guys all know that, oh, we got one more question in. Speaking on the prior service question, if you go direct cross flow, will that help? Not sure which prior service question he's referring to. Let's see.
I think yes, it would help for direct cross flow because if it cuts down on your training time and we can get another assignment out of you if you're later in your career, then yes, having those 3 items checked off would shorten your training pipeline, therefore would make you a more apt candidate for FAO if you are longer in your Air Force career.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. DM. That did answer that question there. All right, well, we're gonna wrap up this live event for today, and we will have these slides available in the privately Facebook group, and this video will also be stored there if you want to go back and relook at the video. So before we sign off, we want to thank Colonel Seiling and the entire SAF-IA team for doing this live event today for our LEAP scholars and just providing that amazing insight. We really appreciate you all. We also want to thank all of our LEAP scholars who joined in today, our AFCLC staff, and also A1C Corbin Miller, who ran our slides for today. So we hope everybody really enjoyed this presentation, and we hope that you have a wonderful day. And we want you to remember, we are AFCLC, the Air Force's Global Classroom. Thank you.